Hi everyone, welcome to another video with me. If you're new here, my name is Chloe, and today in this video I want to talk about how we're always in a timeline. We're always in a reality that we've picked. So it's so simple, but yet it could be hard. It could be hard to choose another story when you're living something else. It could be hard when you're living something you don't want and to tell the story that you do want. It could be hard to be in one timeline and then think on another timeline. That's the hard part. The easy part is that it already exists. It exists for you to choose it. Now, all the attention, all the work should be going towards living in that timeline where you have your desired life. You can choose a subject by subject by subject, or you can glow up your whole timeline. So you don't need to fix the timeline where you're in right now. That is what it is. That timeline will always exist, because everything always exists. Nothing can be taken away or destroyed. We all know energy is not destroyable. So everything is eternal. And all these timelines, all these dimensions, all these realities, they exist for you to choose what disc you're gonna choose. Abraham talks about discs, and that's one way to see it. So they talk about emotional discs, and that's one way to change your timeline. So you can change your timeline by taking the emotional journey, because the timeline where you want to be at, that timeline feels very good, very amazing, very happy. That's why Abraham always says, take the emotional journey first. That is the easiest path, because when you feel good, you can start receiving ideas and clarity and dimensions and all these wonderful things, because you're always choosing a timeline. The timeline you're in right now, that's something you're choosing. You're choosing to be here now. And it seems like you just got here by chance, that it's just happening for you, that life did it for you, or that God did it for you, or that source did it for you, or the universe is choosing for you. That's what it feels like. But the universe is not the one that does the choosing. The universe does not have the power of your focus. The universe is where all the timelines exist. And the disc you're on, the timeline you're on, the thinking you're on, that's what you are choosing. You're selecting the reality with your thinking. So you need to change your thinking. You need to start thinking from the timeline you already want to be in. That already exists. So for speed, you can think one thought that is short, that says, I have what I want. Or a couple of thoughts, maybe 3 thoughts that says, I'm wealthy, I have so much money on top of money, or money is always flowing to me, or I'm always healthy, I'm always happy, I'm always joyful, I'm always with lots of money in my bank account. I have lots of money in my bank account. My bank account reflects the timeline I'm choosing. My bank account reflects my thought. My thought needs to be changed. What do I think about my bank account? I think this. I think that's not enough. I think the number is low. I think I'm running out. That's the timeline you're existing in. What about your health? You're thinking, I don't have enough health. I don't feel good. I feel tired. I don't feel energized. That's the timeline you're in. No, nobody can take you out of that timeline for yourself. You need to do it for yourself. We can manifest for others because they are in our reality. We're choosing a dimension, which dimension we exist together. So you want to choose beautiful relationships, being in love, being madly in love, looking for positive aspects, being positive. Always what you want is positive, because that's the nature of humans. And you always are choosing anyways where you exist, what reality. So the easy part is that all realities exist. They're just waiting for you to focus on them, to activate it, and for it to come into your life. What's happening is, or the harder part is, where you are in one timeline, in one dimension, and you want to be in a different dimension. So how do you go from one dimension to another dimension? You think from the other dimension while being in this dimension. You think from the other timeline while being in a different timeline. That's all. So you need to ignore the old timeline, because you don't want to give it airtime in your mind. That's all. You can live in this old timeline for the time being, while knowing that this is where you are. Mentally, you are in the new timeline. Physically, you are in a different timeline, one that it's not perfect for you. You got here by noticing things. That's okay. It doesn't matter how you got here. You don't have to heal it. You don't have to go to other timelines that you existed before when you were a kid. You don't have to figure out what's wrong with this timeline. You see what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make sense that you're like, what's wrong in this timeline? What's wrong in this timeline? What's wrong in this timeline? Let me figure it out. Once I figure out what's wrong in this timeline, then I can go to this timeline. You see how it doesn't make sense? Because that's not required. What's required is my consciousness, my focus is in this timeline. I need to take my consciousness, my focus to the timeline I want to exist. How do I do that? You do it with your thinking. You want to have $1 million. Perfectly fine. The universe is not judging the amount. Nobody is judging the amount. Nothing is thinking about your money. Nobody's judging anything about your money or anything about your bank account. There's no source that is like thinking, okay, this is the amount of hours you're putting in, this is what you get. Nobody's doing that. You're doing that. In this timeline, you exist where your bank balance is low, let's say. You want to go in the timeline where your bank balance is high. What should you do? You are here and you need to be here physically for now until you put enough focus on the other timeline that it becomes normal, that in your inner reality, in your inner conversation, you are living in the other timeline. Nobody can tell you otherwise. People in this timeline, they're like, no, this is not, like, you're not in this timeline. You're in this timeline. Look at you, you're here. And you're like, no, I'm in this timeline. Because internally, you're in the new timeline. So, the easiest way, there's so many paths. You need a vehicle to take you from the old timeline to the new timeline. What should you do? You can script, you can feel better, but you need to change your thinking. My favorite way to change your thinking quickly, so internally you begin to live in the other timeline. That's where you need to go. And so inside, you live in the new timeline. That's how it works. So you have to internally first live in the new timeline. You can visualize it, you can think it, you can script it. I love visualizing, that comes natural to me, and I love thinking. Start thinking the thought as if you already have, and as if you're already in that timeline. Think that thought over and over again. What I love to do is I do focused thinking. I started by doing it for 10 minutes, 2 to 3 times a day, and you just repeat the thought over and over again. This works very quickly. You can manifest anything. You can be in any timeline. You can activate any timeline for other people, for their health, for their work, whatever it is, for a better relationship, whatever you like. You begin to think internally, no matter what's happening in the other timeline where you're at. You need, in your thinking, to go to the other timeline. So you can do like 1 hour of focused thinking. Just think the thought over and over and over and over again. It's like a thinking meditation where you just repeat one thought over and over and over again, and that thought takes you to the other timeline. It's so easy in that sense. The only hard part is that you have to ignore the timeline you're in, because that timeline has been chosen through your thinking. That's all. And that thinking, maybe you just inherited that thinking. That's okay. You don't have to find out what it is. You don't have to find out how you've been thinking. Nothing. You just choose the thoughts that match the other timeline. The thoughts that say, I already have this desire. Internally, you live in that desire. You see it. You see the people smiling. You see your bank account and the amount that you want. You tell the story within. Repeat, 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 repeat. Persist, 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 persist. Here, this reality says, no, this is not how it is. You're like, no, this is how it is. 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 Don't do this. This is how it is. This is how it is. This is how it is. So meaning old story, new story, old story, new story. I feel like that's the biggest problem that most people that know about manifestation are having. So even forget about manifestation altogether. Just think, I'm a being. I'm powerful. Even you don't have to think that you're powerful. You just have to know, I need to choose a different timeline where my desire already exists, where I exist as that person that has that desire. What happens? You begin to feel inspired to do the things that also take you there. Action is required sometimes, most of the time, sometimes not. It doesn't matter. But say you want to create a business, then you need to take action, and then you just begin telling stories, lovely stories. My business is booming. I love working on my business. I love creating this video. I love connecting with people. I love creating beautiful products. I love feeling good. I love working out. I love eating healthy. I love doing my hair. I love taking care of my body. I love taking care of people. I love building communities. I love building friendships. I love building relationships. My relationships are beautiful. My life is wonderful. Everything goes my way. Everything goes smoothly. Everybody's happy. They're connected. We're connected. You see how it goes? Because from that new timeline, you get new ideas. You start to behave differently. It's just so wonderful that it's so beautiful, and it's so easy once you get it. I need to not live in the reality I don't want internally. Internally, I live in a different reality. Externally, I exist in this reality for a little while. To speed it up, I think from the other timeline over and over again. I begin to receive ideas how to exist in the other timeline. Then you begin behaving as the person in the other timeline. So visualize yourself happy. See yourself friendly. See yourself in the car that you want. See yourself with the floors that you want. See yourself with the business that you want. See yourself with the bank account that you desire. See yourself with the person you want to be with. In the timeline you're in, take care of your environment. You just feel more inspired. You feel energized. That becomes your pull. It pulls you. It pulls you. The timeline begins to pull you. And so you're in between timelines, maybe for a little bit. Could be 3 days. If you get very good at it, it becomes very quick. So it's a skill you want to build, basically. For a while, you're in a timeline where you're here, you take care of here, internally, you live here, and slowly, but pretty quickly, you get here. Sometimes it takes a day of thinking. Sometimes it's immediate. Most of the time, it could be immediate. It just depends how long you've been thinking a thought that you don't want. That's all. And if you need help to stay in the timeline that you desire, I'm here. I offer online coaching. I offer a monthly membership where I help you stay in the new reality, because with support, it's easier. For me, I'm stubborn. Inside, I only live in the reality I want. That's all. And every now you want more, because that's just human nature. So this is a beautiful skill to have, where you can be in one timeline and go to the next, to the next, to the next. It's endless. It's infinite. So for me, it's easy. I don't know. I just find it easy to daydream, to live somewhere else while enjoying this now here. So join my membership. It's awesome. We'll do like challenges where we just live in the reality that we want. We manifest different self-concepts, and it's wonderful.